Rebrands that have gone sideways. Welcome to 2026. This is the Focus Group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, John T. Nash. If you listen to our podcast, TFG Unbuttoned, which comes out on Tuesdays, I was deciding whether it was 19 years or 18 years, but I'm going to have to, for the next show, John, next week, I'll get the dates down correctly, and instead of me winging it to figure it out. But for those of you who may be new, this is the Focus Group with Tim and John. We've been around doing this for at least 18 years. I'll say that. Because there's 3.2 million podcasts
I like that pivot
going on, right? And so how this works is we do a little chatter up front. We have a signature segment here we call our business birthday. And then we also have, we used to do shop talk a lot in 2025. John and I are going to rebrand that or try to figure out what that's going to be. Right now we're calling it Shop Talk Focus Group, or Shop Talk the Focus Group, or the Focus Group Shop Talk. What are we calling it? We're not going to call it that in the future. But
yeah, when you sent me the run and you had called it Shop Talk Focus Group,
yeah,
I had to think about it for a while, but it actually is perfect, because a focus group is when you sit down with a bunch of people and you ask questions and you learn things about an ad or toilet paper or whatever. And it's a Shop Talk Focus Group. So whatever we decide to shop talk, it's being focus grouped. So I think you did a good job there.
Well, I was going to say behind the mirrored glass, but that sounds almost like
behind the one-way mirror.
Yeah, it's like drama, right? Behind the mirrored glass, behind the glass
kind of like
wall.
Behind the Chandelier, the Liberace movie with
exactly. Yeah, so it could be that as well. But we used to focus that on a number of either career or business stories, which we'll still do, but we're tweaking it as we go along through the first quarter this year to see where it ends up.
We are tweaking it. And also Tim is driving the car in the direction of it's time for us to step up and speak plainly about certain things we see going on from a branding and marketing point of view and from a business point of view, especially when it pertains to the LGBTQ community. So you'll be hearing a little more of that. So Tim, couple things for you. First.
Sure.
I think we talked about this last week when we were on break, about going to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini and typing in your birthday and your birth hour, and asking it to describe who you are. So we've done this. Then there's this other thing that I'm doing, and I don't know if you've done this yet, where you plug in your birthday, the time of birth, and you ask it to run Chinese numerology on you, and you ask it to break it down or whatever. And I have been shocked by this. What comes back when I do the Chinese numerology is it literally is describing me quite well. So there's that. So if you're listening, folks, and you want to try something fun, you can use AI to get a little astrological glimpse into stuff. You can even use AI for tarot cards. Do you know that?
No. Well, you had sent me the prompt for the ChatGPT thing. And of course, stupidly, it's garbage in, garbage out. So I just dropped and dragged and, put it in. And it gave me a very, I'm reading it and I'm thinking, God, it mirrors a little bit how John is, I'm going through. Well, it used your prompt that I'm a Libra, because I think you said I'm a Libra, whatever. So I'm reading this and I said, oh, John and I are pretty compatible here. I'm going on, God damn, this is John's, thing. So then I went in and redid mine. Actually, I liked yours better than mine. So I thought, how was John so good? And mine seems a little left of center. So
I forgot the beginning of that prompt said my horoscope.
I'm a Libra born on the cusp of this or whatever. And it's like, hello, Libra. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not a Libra. Well, maybe it's in the seventh moon or whatever the heck it says. But it was interesting because, and maybe this is where they always say fortune or psychic mediums or whatever. I was agreeing with a lot of what it said. And then as I kept digging, and I thought, well, this really, and then I looked and said, oh, it's John's, it's not mine. But I could agree with a lot of it. I actually liked it. It gave a motto for you in life. and at least the one that I gave, or the one that I did, that used your information with my my birth date, but being a Libra, which was also odd. But it essentially talked about how you know how to read a room, reading rooms.
Ah, interesting. Interesting.
And I should send it to you because you'll get a laugh out of it. I should send it to you. And then when I did it for myself, and I've got to go back and look at it because it was complicated. Well, and then it went down a rabbit hole. You know, it kept saying, would you like me to do this? Would you like me to do that? These were the AI prompts after it listed the thing. Yeah. And then it got me all the way down to, would you like to do a TED Talk about this or something? So I said, sure. Wow. Tell me what that's like. And then it said, would you like me to create a presentation for you to give to senior executives or make this for a speaking tour thing? And so I went into that. But then again, that had nothing to do, I didn't think, with my astrology or numerology. But how I got down to that rabbit hole, I should send you the full transcript just so you see it. But it was interesting because I thought for our business, or at least for business, I said, how could we sell, how do you sell something? And it picked up on that. Now, I was wondering whether, does it pick up a lot of what you and I have, what's out there with our names on it? Does it use some of that information? And
well, you use ChatGPT?
I use ChatGPT, and I've run my resume through there. You and I have done a number of things where we've used ChatGPT to help us, with copy on presentations or something. So I'm wondering if it referenced some of those things and picked up on it.
I was going to tell you
I thought was eerily odd. Some of that I thought was a little, almost they knew too much.
So ChatGPT has memory built into it?
Yeah. Yes.
You could actually start your prompt by, your first prompt would be, I need to have something. You have to say something like, don't use any memory or any of our previous collaborations for the question I'm about to ask. And then you hit the return key.
Oh, okay.
And a little thing comes up saying adjusting memory. And then you put it in, and it's tabula rasa. It's like it doesn't know you, or it hasn't, dealt with you before. Gemini, Google's Gemini, doesn't do that. I don't think it has the memory thing. So you end up getting slightly different results. I spent a good deal of time, like you did, rabbit holing this thing, and I just laughed because it also turned me on to something called Baozi. I'm not even pronouncing it correctly, but it's Chinese symbols, and it's a numbers thing, and it gives you all these little things about, and it can actually predict things and says, here's what's going to happen. Supposedly, Tim, I don't know if you saw this in anything you saw, but 2026 is going to be a good year. Regardless of what we see going on in DC, for us, it's supposed to be a good year, at least for me.
Well, and then maybe the one I read that I typed in, but it was talking. You and I talked about a word for the year rather than a resolution.
Yep.
And pivot seemed to be part of it. That if you pivot, XYZ will happen. And in that discussion, or in the prompts, I also thought, well, I'm going to ask it about, did I choose the right college, or why did I choose the college I chose?
Boy, you went long.
And then I asked it about rowing, which would be interesting if you asked it about
cycling,
Binghamton University, or cycling, and how that has effect, or how that has how is that informed, or how is your astrology informed you doing those two decisions? And again, I was shocked about, first of all, how quick it is, and secondly, how pretty direct it is. Things I would have never thought about. It talked about, with rowing, it talked about being part of a bigger thing.
Team.
Leadership. I mean, it went through this whole thing. I thought, oh, okay. And then the college choice was really quite fascinating. So it'll be interesting for you. I think you should throw those prompts in and see what.
I'm going to try that, and I want our listeners to try it as well. It's just, and when I mentioned earlier that it does tarot cards, so you can go to Chat or Gemini and say, I have a question I'm holding in my head, and I would like a tarot card reading. And then you hit the return. It usually defaults to something called the 3 card. It's the past, present, and future. And I got to tell you, I did it in 3 different chatbots, and it came up eerily similar.
Really?
I don't know if it's reading my mind.
So you just say, you didn't tell it what the question was,
no,
did you?
You don't tell it the question.
So how the heck does it know?
Hey, Tim,
it's just fun. Where's my 8 ball?
Grab your magic 8 ball. Yeah. Ask again later. There it is. If you're watching on YouTube, Tim's got the.
Well, should I ask? Is ChatGPT accurate? Let's see what the 8 ball says. My sources say no.
I think we nailed something here with AI. Here's something else I was going to share with you. Bob woke up on, I want to say it was Saturday morning, looks out the window and says, "Oh my." And he grabs a pair of binoculars. He has his dad's old binoculars from like World War II or something. They're big and heavy. And he's at the window looking out. And I'm like, "What are you looking at?" He goes, "A dead rabbit."
Ooh, is this out in your back? Was this your backyard?
Just right off to the side of the house, like by a big locust tree. So I said, "Well, a dead rabbit's not so unusual." And he goes, "Well, this one's decapitated."
Ooh.
The head was in one spot. The body was about 12 inches away, and there were no footprints in the snow around it except like what looked like maybe bird or a squirrel. It wasn't like a coyote or... We theorized that a hawk picked the rabbit up, and there was a fight. And somehow the hawk's talons clipped that head off, and it both fell down. So I remember when I was younger, I read the books I, Claudius and Claudius the God by Robert Graves, one of my favorite two sets of like historical fiction. And in the beginning of I, Claudius, he's somewhere in a Roman villa before he becomes emperor, and a hawk drops something out of the sky, and he sees the hawk. And the Romans used to think that was a sign that the gods were getting ready to send something good your way, or you have to be on the lookout for good signs and for symbols. I mentioned it to Bob, and Bob goes, "But we didn't see the hawk. We're just assuming the hawk dropped it." I'm like, "Okay, we'll scratch that one."
ChatGPT anyway. 2026 is going to be a good year. Luck started off well. Yeah, you get the dead rabbit.
There you go.
I wonder, was there snow on the ground?
Snow, yeah, lots of snow.
So it was in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
The next morning, the head was gone.
That's good eating.
Ugh.
All our bunnies, Richard was feeding the bunnies all summer. We have bunnies all over the place.
Carrots.
We're down to one bunny. Foxes are everywhere, though. They're eating. The foxes are getting ready for their babies. But we're down to one bunny. But
the cruelty of nature, Tim.
I know. As my neighbor said, "Oh, they're so cute. They don't last long." Sum up a bunny's life. So cute. They don't last long. So, Mr. Nash, without further ado, what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
Okay. I don't even know where to begin with this, except to say I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across an ad for something called Holetox. 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 And it was from a guy named Injector Chris is this person's name, and it's Lushful Cosmetics. It's some kind of service that you go and it's a Botox. Basically, this guy is promoting the idea of having your hole Botoxed.
Yeah.
So there's more to it than this. So it says here, what is Holetox? Aesthetic clinic patients receive Holetox, anal Botox, to make receiving anal sex, in parentheses, bottoming, like we need to know that, easier. Botox in the anus can be used for hemorrhoid prevention. Okay, that sounds good. And anal fissures, okay, both of which are common occurrences in the bottoming community. Whether you're new to bottoming, seeking to improve your sexual experience, or are trying to deal with rectal pain or relieve anal pressure, our treatment provides a medically guided approach to relieving anal tension and preventing complications. So it says our patients also find that the Holetox can support preparation for bottoming by reducing anal pressure and easing dilation, making the experience more comfortable and enjoyable. My mouth was hanging open during this because Tim,
I don't know what Botox does, right? That takes the wrinkle out.
It relaxes muscles, right? So when they do it in your face, that's why you get rid of the wrinkles and the crow's feet, because it just relaxes all. And that's why you can't, if you're Botoxed up the wazoo, if you smile, it barely looks like you're smiling because nothing else moves on your face, right? So I went to this website and they don't do just that. They have something called a Hangtox, Hangtox, is an application of Botox for the scrotum that relaxes the dartos muscle. The aesthetic clinic treatment for Botox in the scrotum is aimed at making the scrotum hang lower at baseline, helping the scrotum appear looser, lower, and more aesthetically full. So you have to say to yourself, if you're getting some of this stuff done, this is right up there with having implants and I don't know what else, but you don't seem very surprised by this.
Only in New York. Isn't that what Cindy Adams used to say?
Yes, to say that's right.
Listen, I've watched one of these procedures take place. Reno Gold. You can see he has an OnlyFans or whatever. Reno Gold, famous social influencer, I suppose. He went to go get this ball tox or whatever they call it on his scrotum.
The hang tox.
The hang tox to tighten up his testes. And they showed him going in and the whole deal. Now they did gray out part of him getting the needles, but I thought, man. Mm-hmm. And he was doing it because he thought it was going to make him aesthetically look better, or was going to take the wrinkles out or whatever around his private parts. But I was shocked about it, and I thought, have we gone this far that you're getting Botox on your private parts? I guess
Holetox and hang tox. And yes, we apparently have gone this far, right?
Because that injector, Chris, I think also puts fat, like he'll take fat of one part of the body and inject it into your penis. He was on Howard Stern. They had him on Howard. A couple of people from Howard Stern had it done. It doesn't last. It only lasts a few months, but yeah. I don't know. I don't think I would be playing around down there. Would you?
No. But it speaks to this.
The vanity.
If you scroll, Tim, that's a perfect word for it, because if you scroll through Instagram or X and you see all these perfect young men with the really narrow waist and the big, I don't know how much of that is enhanced, how much of that is real, but if it's all real, it's a lot of effort going into your physical appearance, right?
It's a lot of work. And as somebody, we both know our friend Matt, who was a bodybuilder and got roped up into and got wrapped into that whole scene with steroids and everything about looking perfect. It's so funny because I'll send him a picture or something and he'll be like, steroids. Like he knows right away. He said, there's no way your body can get like that without some enhancement. Because you're right. You do see all these perfect. It used to be people were concerned about young girls or men looking through these magazines and health magazines or glamour magazines or something, fashion magazines, and trying to get to this ideal, which A, is a full-time job, as you noted, and B, a lot of it is enhanced. And listen, we all know how tough it is if you wanted to lose that last 5 pounds, or you're on the gym again, or you're going to the gym twice a day, or you're trying to eat properly. It's tough to have that little tiny waist, big arms, big shoulders for guys, and think you're having something to eat. Yeah. So.
One of my very first trainers, Tom, used to say to me, when I started training with him, I said, I want his chest, his arms, his legs, his waist. And he's like, you're part shopping. That's never going to happen. He goes, well, I'm going to work with you. It's going to take 5 years to achieve symmetry. You want well-balanced legs. You want normal-looking muscles. And I said, well, what about that guy? He goes, well, that guy's clearly on steroids. I'm like, how do you know? He goes, mass and definition cannot coexist every single day.
No.
Natural bodybuilders work to a point where for the competition, mass and definition are like right on line. But the minute it's over, they're eating.
Well, they don't drink water, so you dehydrate. Correct. So you can just see the definition. Yeah. Well, John, if you want to get Holetox, maybe we'll see if they could be a sponsor. We can see if
that could. I don't know if I want to put myself up to be a scientific experiment, but in the interest of our show and sponsors, I might.
I don't think I would do it.
There's something weird about like laying down at a table and having someone inject your ass.
Because I don't even like when I watch them do it in the lips and stuff, where they put these fillers in. And anyone I know who has it done, I think just looks like an idiot. We know some men who they just look like absolute fools. And I don't know if somebody needs to tell them to stop. And I always am tempted to type, please stop, but I don't. I want to. But anyway. Mm-hmm. Mine can't be any more wholesome. I was probably might have even gotten this out of the Reader's Digest. So I was scrolling through somewhere online and it talked about, and I thought this would be the perfect thing for Jeopardy or one of these quiz trivia shows or something. If somebody said to you, do you know where the geographic center is of the United States? And for the lower 48, I'm going to take Alaska and Hawaii now. But the geographic center, if you had to say of the lower 48, we're all attached, where would the geographic center be? And this is all things being balanced. So you're taking away mountains. You're talking about a flat plain. So we're not talking about the big mountains and valleys and so forth.
Are we talking like Nebraska or Tennessee or really?
No,
What
Nebraska
is
is close. It's Kansas.
Kansas.
Yeah. So it says many states consider themselves the heartland of America, but where exactly is the geographic center? If you're including the lower 48, look no further than a nondescript field north of Lebanon, Kansas. And it says not much marks this otherwise typical stretch of Midwestern farmland, except for a nearby historical marker. And if you're watching, John's got the two pictures. So it's kind of a sad sack monument and a picnic table. And
with a garbage can.
Which
Tim,
is where
you like the garbage can.
We missed that. We should have stopped there on our trip, right?
I agree.
When we went cross country, this would have been a destination for you and I to get a picture taken in front of the falling apart stone monument, the closed hotel, and a little chapel.
Hotel.
It's a closed hotel, coffee shop. If you want a souvenir, they said you need to drive a few miles into the town, Lebanon, to get a souvenir. But so they said that there's the U.S. Geological Survey has determined that this location in Lebanon, Kansas, is the geographic center. And they said in earlier times, this accolade garnered enough tourists for a hotel. So it was actually a destination selling souvenirs and a night's rest as you drove across country. It says the souvenir shop still remains in downtown Lebanon. The motel is long closed up. The visitor's monument is still there. There's also still a small chapel and a shaded picnic table and a monument, but the hotel is closed.
Shaded picnic table.
So not to be outdone, when in 1951, when Alaska and Hawaii were added, people felt that they should redo this geographic center. So it ended up, some people believe if you're adding now Alaska and Hawaii, it would be Belfourche or Belfourche would be the new territory in South Dakota. I may be saying it wrong. Fourche.
I think you got that right.
Belfourche. Yeah. So in South Dakota, when you add in the distance with Alaska and Hawaii, and now they're saying, of course, with all the craziness with Trump, whether we take Greenland or not, and or Canada, they're talking about the talks of adding a 51st state and where that will relocate the bullseye to the U.S. So a number of places are jockeying to see if they're going to be the lucky town to be the geographic center. But they talked about people who have talked are areas that have contended for statehood recently or have talked about it. I've heard about Puerto Rico, but they've also said Guam has come forward and wants to be considered a state. Also, the territories of the Virgin Islands, which they all have representatives in Congress. I often don't know how this works. There's representatives, but they really don't vote, but they're there.
Non-voting, correct.
So we have American Samoa, some islands from the Pacific, and Puerto Rico, of course, and Washington, D.C. So anyway, the Geographic Center, John, we missed that on our trip. I thought we should take, next time we do a cross-country drive, we'll have to be sure to head over to Lebanon, Kansas.
It would be nice if this place with the shaded picnic table were close to the world's largest tinfoil ball. That would make 2 for 1.
We're probably
right?
not far. You and I went to Kansas, went to Baxter, Kansas. We were supposed to find the best pies in America as you and I blew into town to a deserted.
And the tumbleweed blew with us, right?
Oh, my God. Deserted town. We ended up at a convenience store and got the snowballs and dentine gum and Slim Jims.
And the sticks, the rawhide
Slim
sticks,
Jims,
right?
right.
Slim Jims, yeah.
Beef sticks because pie place was closed. But Route 66.
The best pie in America. And it was like a movie set that had been abandoned 10 years ago. Everything was just except this one gas station. And I was driving at the time, and Tim's like,
going up and down the main street. Let's look for Baxter's Pies. Baxter's Pies.
He's like, he goes, let's do that again. We got to go up and down. Maybe we missed the shop number. Everything was closed except this. That was disappointing. Yeah.
Oh, so there you go. Hey, we mentioned a signature segment here on the focus group called our business birthday. How long have we been doing the business birthday?
Oh, since Serious Days. So that's truly 18 years.
We'll have to look at it. So time for our business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the focus group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
So this is another one of these. I guess I was on this theme. I was watching stuff I was watching trivia shows over the break. And this would be a question I think somebody would ask you. Do you know who this is? Sandford Fleming. Do you know who he was? And born January 7th, 1827. He's a Scottish Canadian, but born in Scotland and immigrated to Canada at age 18. Died at 88 in 1915. He was an engineer and inventor, but really best known as the father of standard time. And I guess I never thought about this, but did you know before this time, various locales would just decide what time it was based on where they were located. So there was no standard time across the country, no standard time in Europe or anything. And so Sir Sandford Fleming, he was in Ireland, and he was supposed to take a train across Ireland. And there was lots of confusion about the timetable, about when the train would leave or when it would not leave, whatever. He missed the train. So he got mad and said, how come this isn't standardized, that the time here would be different than the time in the next town, in the next province or state or whatever. So he was the chief engineer for the Intercolonial Railway in Canada. He was trying to link Canada from coast to coast, and also did some work with the U.S. on trying to link the countries together with rail. And so what he did find out was that in different regions, their clocks were all set just according to their astronomical conditions locally. And there was no set time. So he came up with this idea and said, let's adopt a 24-hour clock. And that's how the military was going to get involved with this 24 hours. So there would be no confusion between day and night and the AM, PM. And so he talked about this, put together a paper and I guess we'd call it a white paper, and went and presented this to the International Prime Meridian Conference in Washington, D.C. in 1884, and said that he believed the whole world should adopt an internationally accepted system of standard time zones. And after some time, they said it wasn't universally accepted at first, but after some time, they decided to adopt it. And that's how we've got time zones and universal time, which I guess I never thought about it. So I suppose you could have been living in what was colonial New York or Connecticut, mm-hmm. and over in Pittsburgh, they might have thought it was an hour later or earlier or whenever mm-hmm. they decided it was. Did you know all that?
No, this was a surprise to me. And when you sent this over, I know there was a book several years ago called Longitude, and it was about the development of seaworthy timepieces that could allow a captain to truly understand where they were on the globe. And this is a big thing because clocks didn't travel very well back in the old days. So this means that he developed standard time, but then Greenwich Mean Time is basically standard time, right? There's an actual observatory outside of London where there's this line in the ground. It's like, this is where Greenwich Mean Time is.
Right, and that's where he picked that.
Okay, he did pick that. Okay.
Yes, that was his idea. Canada at the time was, well, still is, part of the British Empire.
Commonwealth, yeah.
And Commonwealth. So in working with the British Empire, they put the line, that was going to be the line for the time, Greenwich Mean Time, I suppose, as we call it. And he also then, because he felt, again, if you were on a train and you were going from Halifax to Vancouver, that you should have consistently know where you are, and that's where they came up with time zones, and so that everybody would be on the same page, so to speak. The other thing he advocated for, with particularly Canada and Australia at the time, was to put together a telegraph and communication system, because it was also a huge issue in terms of getting information and sharing information. He was also known as, he developed Canada's first postage stamp. I thought this would be a great drag queen name, the 3-penny Beaver. So that was the name.
Tim, that's a funny. That should be a Miss Canada, right? The 3-penny Beaver. That's
welcome
brilliant.
to the stage, 3-penny Beaver. She comes out as a male lady, but
and she had Holetox done.
But in 1851, it was Canada's first postage stamp. due to his work, and it featured the animal, the beaver, which is now, of course, a Canadian symbol. He also did a lot of work as Chancellor of the Queen's University in Ontario. He died in Halifax in 1915, but well regarded as a key figure in Canadian history and also British history. But something that I'm sure on Jeopardy somebody could say he founded, or Sandford Fleming. He's a father of standard time. Something like that.
That
So
would
now you
be
know.
a Jeopardy question, right? It
Yeah,
could be.
I would think so. But I never heard of him before, so I would think I would have.
But Tim, it's funny. We've heard about around him. Like I remember when I visited the Royal Naval Observatory in England and the Greenwich Mean Time and the line, and now I know why that's there, but I didn't know that part of it before. That's very good. Well, I like that. It's a good business birthday.
Yeah.
Because look, from a business point of view, establishing standard time was essential to get all this other stuff lined up. So it's good.
Yep.
All right. Nicely done, Mr. Bennett. We are going to take a pause here and have a little break. When we come back, we have Shop Talk Focus Group. So it's Shop Talk revolving around us being behind a one-way mirror talking about something. I guess I said that right. So we'll be right back after this little pause.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
Happy New Year, everybody. I guess, can I still say Happy New Year? I guess it's still up
Sure.
there saying Happy. Do you have your Christmas stuff still up?
The house has been taken down completely. The thing with Bob being retired is it vanishes quick. The spirit of Christmas disappeared very quickly.
Ours is still wandering around. Needs to come down. But I'm not
Mr.
saying
Bennett,
much.
in honor of Shop Talk Focus Group, I did go online to an AI site called Love Voice to generate 2 intros.
Oh, so
the
we have
first is this.
two new intros to this little bit.
This is a male voice here. Let's listen to this.
Now it's time for a Shop Talk Focus Group.
Straightforward.
Okay.
I noticed they had a drop-down menu and you could do things in other languages. And I thought, I wonder what it sounds like in French or Spanish. I put in Japanese and this is what came back. Are you ready for this one?
Yep.
Now it's time for a Shop Talk Focus Group.
Oh, you got to use that.
That wasn't translated. Here, I'll do it again.
Now it's time for a Shop Talk Focus Group.
Focus group.
Yeah, you know what? So
They didn't even translate it. They just
she
did
just
this
did
thing where
a
they
cheap, stereotypical Japanese accent. It's great. Do it again.
I should have done the French one for you because it was practically like a cartoon.
Focus group.
Oh, it's time for the focus group shop. It was like no effort to translate. I thought I was going to get a different language. I thought I was going to get like actual Japanese.
Well, usually the Japanese, if they don't have a word for something, they put an O at the end. So
the French do the same. They do that.
That's
Remember
how
we were
robot
taught
came.
in Madame
roboto.
Bosman taught you this, right?
Well, then the French, you
If you
just
don't
say
know it, say it a certain way.
But the Japanese are computero, roboto. Put an O at the end, and you're all set. But that's funny.
Now it's time for a Shop Talk Focus Group.
Focus group.
Focus group. Okay. Well, what's our first?
Were there other ones? You're going to have to do some other ones for next week.
I can. There's
each week we'll have a new language, maybe.
How about would you like me to do Hungarian?
Everything. Icelandic.
Okay, I'll do a bunch.
Icelandic or Navajo. I don't know what they had in the pull down. Hawaiian.
There was one for Chinese, but it didn't really sound different than the Japanese. I was almost insulted. I'm like, wait a minute. I just want to hear a foreign language. I don't want to hear some crazy Mad TV stereotype voice, right?
So there's two. So John had entitled this Shop Talk Focus Group as Rebrands that went sideways. And the first one we've gotten quite a chuckle about in the news, unless you're totally sleeping. The president has decided that, and unanimously, and much as a surprise to him, which is a playbook right out of North Korea, is they renamed the Kennedy Center the Donald Trump John F. Kennedy Center. But as in pure form, with the typical with this administration, things weren't necessarily thought all the way through. So I don't know anybody, well, maybe people that are lying that are part of the GOP that think it's a great idea to tarnish the Kennedy Center, which is a memorial to John F. K. or JFK and the arts and so forth, by throwing Trump's name on it. But somebody from, was it Toby Morton, who was one of the writers from South Park? What did he do, John? Yep. He was smart.
Well, Toby Morton is a writer at South Park. Also, he used to be at Mad TV, one of Tim and my favorite shows from the past. When he learned that Trump was taking over the board and was cleaning house there and putting that Richard Grinnell in, or Grinnell, the guy that used to be an ambassador in the first term, but now he's running the Kennedy Center. He's gay. Toby Morton decided that he thought, I know where this is going to go. This is going to go in the direction of Trump putting his name on it. So he went ahead and registered TrumpKennedyCenter.org.com. He bought all these URLs. And here's the thing that Tim and I think is, and I don't mean to speak for Tim, but we've actually talked about this. What's the first thing you do if you're going to do a name of a company or a brand or a product? You go to like GoDaddy.com or Dotster or whatever it may be, and you start looking to see if the URL is available as a .com, because that's the most popular thing. I'm shocked that nobody did this, right?
Well, you're not dealing with the best and brightest, although we're told we are. We're not dealing with the best and brightest, right? And
so then he puts up a website, which Tim, I didn't know it was up, and Tim said, you got to go to this website because there's a lot of funny stuff about it. So you went there, right?
Well, yeah, and there's, so obviously it's satire, but I love the fact that, coming soon, the Epstein dancers were coming, the Epstein dance troupe. And, but Trump is all tuned up, as is Grinnell, because ever since they plastered his name on the Kennedy Center, which, please don't do that. I don't need you to do that. Many entertainment folk have canceled their performances. And Trump also, for the first time, many people know, I used to love, we've talked about it many times, the Kennedy Center Honors, which is always on in December. One of the best things on TV on CBS. Well, again, he didn't want to do it, but was forced. He was going to be the host this year. It's usually somebody like Oprah Winfrey, David Letterman, one of our iconic entertainers. But no, Donald Trump did it this year. Did you watch it? Because it had the lowest rating ever. Now, of course, he was saying how it was so great, but he picked all the honorees, he said, and it got about half the audience that it would usually get.
It was. Look, if he wants to pick the rock band Kiss to honor at the Kennedy Center, I don't have a problem with that. Kiss is part of the culture. I mean, but it was the way that they did this, where it was all these bands that are people that are ignored by the left. No, not true. I mean, they haven't been ignored by the left. No. But if you go to TrumpKennedyCenter.org, the landing page says a national institution devoted to power and loyalty. And it says coming soon. And as Tim referenced, it says ring in the new year with a performance by the Epstein Dancers. And then they recreated the logo of the Kennedy Center close enough that it would easily pass as a new creation. And underneath Trump Kennedy Center, it looks like one of those redacted things that they put out after the Department of Justice. It says A, huge black bar, J Trump, huge black bar, 13-year-old girl. And then there's this, if you read down further, he went all out on this, a sacred continuation of purpose. We exist to preserve what must endure, to honor what must not be questioned, and to gather those who understand that greatness is not chosen, it is recognized. Here, tradition is not remembered, it is maintained. It's so, and they can't do anything about it. So, Tim, I don't know if you actually came across this, but apparently Toby Morton has been threatened since this went up with legal repercussions. He responded as such. He said, satire is protected speech. Confusion is a legal requirement, not a feeling. Political parody is not infringement. Criticism is not cyber squatting, and trademark law isn't a panic button for institutions that don't like being laughed at. I'll proceed accordingly while you go fuck yourselves. Dog bless.
Well, it's just... the whole thing is absurd, and nobody. First of all, it's against the law. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's the bigger issue. It's a flagrant violation of the Constitution, but that doesn't seem to matter. Not anything.
Nope.
That this president has done, even including the recent escapade into Venezuela. So
maybe that's going to be the new geographic center of the U.S. Caracas.
Venezuela. I don't quite understand the whole. Well, I don't know. I think it revolves around oil, as many have said, but I think it also revolves around the Chinese wanted to put a military base there. There's lots of things that aren't said, but
correct.
But I wish he was the same. I wish he had the same fervor for Putin as he has for some of the leaders of Latin America. He seems to give Putin a pass all the time.
Huge.
So anyway, as John, the unintended consequences of not knowing what you're doing and renaming something, and not even doing something as simple as grabbing the .com or the .org. So,
or even searching for it. I mean, just tap. Oh, someone's taking it. We can't use that.
So as John said, be sure to head over and check them out. TrumpKennedyCenter.com or TrumpKennedyCenter.org, and enjoy the satire. The little quietly, PepsiCo. So if I said to you, John, PepsiCo, which is the holding company for Pepsi and number of snack foods and drinks, when I say PepsiCo to you, what do you think of?
If I think of logos, I think of a circle with red and blue and the Pepsi. I know that that's the Pepsi logo. PepsiCo corporate might be different, but that really is one of their trademarks, right?
Yeah, and it's Pepsi, right? Pepsi is in it, PepsiCo. And I'm the same way with you. I immediately think the red, white, and blue, different than Coke, which is red and white. Pepsi was always the blue, red, and white.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
So they have, so they came out with kind of quietly, and I said to John, "Have you seen this new logo?" So PepsiCo has developed a new logo. Now they're saying it's because they've acquired so many new companies in this rebranding of PepsiCo. So there's a graphic that shows from 1965 up to 225 what the logos are. But they said in 2001 they owned 13 consumer brands. And today they own over 500. And a lot of them are focusing on health and wellness and this new, I don't know, is it new to the culture that people are concerned about health and wellness and not just sugary sodas or something, but people want to have more healthful
waters,
snacks,
things like
things that are less salty or sodium or whatever. So they developed this new logo, which to me looks like a little pea in an artichoke. I don't.
You do not want to present to Tim Bennett. If you are trust me, folks, on this. I'm going to go on the stand and I'll put my hand on the Bible. You better be darn sure what you're presenting looks good and makes sense, because what Tim just said, that happens in meetings all the time. And I can no longer look at that new logo of theirs as anything other than a pea in an artichoke.
Doesn't it look like a pea in an artichoke?
It looks like a pea. So Tim provided two graphics. If you're watching on YouTube, the first one I showed you was what Tim mentioned a moment ago, the progression of PepsiCo's logo from the 60s and 70s all the way up to 2025. And then this slide that I have up is PepsiCo's logo explained. All the elements explained. My favorite one is this green thing, which is the bottom of the artichoke. It's supposed to be a smile.
Yeah.
Consumer friendly. We're consumer friendly. There's this. I would never have gotten that from this. And furthermore, as we said at the beginning of this thing, when Tim asked me that open-ended question, like if I say Pepsi, what do you think of? I literally think of the logo on the can. So I'm not sure why you have to go so far afield for the corporate presence to be that different from what you're putting on your products. But hey, look, I understand they have 20 some or whatever you said number of companies, but it doesn't. It doesn't.
No, they said they have over 500 brands, but no, you're exactly right. If you look at up until 1985, the red and blue, but this new, the new logo, I think the font looks childish or something odd. And you're a graphics person, so you probably can critique that better than me. Using the small p, I think, is odd. I think that blue they use is not the blue that we're familiar with Pepsi.
There's no red royal or navy.
Right. There's no red there anyway. And as you said, they've got this kind of, I don't even know what you would call that palette. There's almost a terracotta orange. And they're saying that represents food and grain. There's a blue blob, which represents water for hydration. The smile, as you noted. And then there's underneath food, drinks, and smiles. But when I look at that logo, I can't even imagine that on a shirt or anything if you were going to a convention or business cards. I don't know. I would love to talk to the people who did it because they must have done quite the sell job, right? Somebody made millions of dollars on this. Probably got $1 million for this. We're in the wrong business.
So here's the thing, though. Like, if you were in a focus group setting, would you probably would have asked me, if as the art director, to prepare versions of this new logo minus the word PepsiCo,
right?
And maybe put a fake company name in, because if you didn't see PepsiCo, I'm looking at that P and it looks like an apple or the artichoke thing. I would think it was like a natural food company or some small little natural brand somewhere. I don't think of it as one of the largest packaged goods, food goods in the world, but you know.
Well, and to their credit, I guess, or to their
something.
Yeah, I mean, they said that they wanted to get away from the sugary sodas, right? They wanted to they want to be known for not only having all these salty snacks and chips, but also known as an expanding category of better for you options. And so this was a way for them to change, but I don't know if it worked. I've read some critique of it, and it's not
good, bad.
That's not well liked.
Okay,
but but they may have decided that they're going to have to do it eventually, right? They're going to have to update the logo eventually, and so why not do it now? But it's a near impossible effort to try to put 500 brands under a logo,
under one umbrella. Yeah. So Tim and I kind of put this in the category. It's not as egregious as Cracker Barrel actually changing their look from, the guy in the rocking chair in the barrel to the new thing, and then getting it put right back after probably, I think, Tim, you estimated that rebrand probably cost a couple $1 million at least, right?
Oh, at least. Well, and then you probably started tooling for new signage, business cards and menus and all that stuff that go with a franchise. Yeah. Had to be quite a bit of money. Well, logos cost, as you know, to do something as big as this for a huge, PepsiCo is probably a Fortune 10, at least Fortune 50 company. I don't know, but I think I would have said exactly what I said. It looks like a little pea in an artichoke, and maybe they said, well, that's what we want. We want to be known as healthier option.
Does the bike talk?
Does the bike have lips? That was my favorite one.
Does the bike talk?
I didn't write that in there that whole campaign was done. So John's referring to, I was in a meeting, and it was going to be an ad campaign for Lance Armstrong, and the bike was having thought bubbles, about why Lance has left the bike and going to drive a Subaru, which was,
a stretch.
A stretch at best. And so they had this huge presentation and all this media and pictures and things flying in. The head of marketing at the time, just in that one question, I just knew the whole thing was done. You better come back with new work. Is the bike talking? Well, the bike's thinking. The bike's got thought bubbles. Does the bike have lips? And of course, I busted out laughing. No one else seemed to think. I looked around the room. I thought, this is hilarious. The only other person, Roger, Roger Burgess.
I do.
He actually had written that down as a quote hanging in his office. Does the bike have lips? He said, it's one of the best. He said, that's one of the best quotes I've ever sat through in a pitch. He said, it's one of the best I've heard, best questions I've heard. But yeah.
Tim called me after that pitch. I want to say that was DDB, right?
No, it was Temerlin, one of Temerlin's.
It was Temerlin McLean.
Yeah,
okay.
Because they had Lance.
So Tim calls me up and he goes, Nash, you're not going to believe this. And he tells me the story and he tells me the question. I know exactly who asked it. Great guy. And I said, oh my God. And I said, what's going to happen? He goes, they're not, that was shit. The minute that question came out of his mouth, that campaign was shit canned.
Yeah.
I think they just took it off and, right? You never saw it again, right?
Yeah, no, it was done. It was taken down. I mean, and they had this buffoon for a while running the agency that, I shouldn't say he was a buffoon, but, well, no, he was a buffoon. But he used to, he'd put all this stuff on, and he'd say, if it's on the rail, it's for sale. In other words, there was no bad idea. He was anything that was up on the board was for sale. But he had to go. They immediately pivoted to another idea for a campaign. But then we also found out that Lance couldn't really act, which was a big issue. So you couldn't really give him a lot of dialogue. And so that was...
You gave him one word.
Well, right? Talk about rebrands, right, or things that go south. This was all a vanity project by a couple of senior executives that got themselves all horny for Lance Armstrong and his success on the
Tour de France. Yeah.
And how he was going to be their best buddy. And, of course, none of that happened. But so you get handed in the marketing department, even though against your best judgment, sometimes you get handed, here, we've got this new spokesperson, make it work. And you got to figure it out. You hear about that with Tiger Woods with Hyundai was another one.
Yep.
You hear the Hyundai people talk about, here, make this work. Oh, okay. Anybody believe Tiger Woods is driving a Hyundai? Let's start there. So, or a Buick.
But that, Tim, our industry, that was not how it went. But we're going to wrap it up there, folks. That was Shop Talk Focus Group. Shop Talk Focus Grupo. We want to thank you for joining us here on the Focus Group. Be sure to tune in to TFG Unbuttoned, our Tuesday podcast, also available on your audio stream of choice. Our Focus Group Docs, if you want to see the video of this on Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook, and it drops in audio form on Saturday on your platform of choice. We want to remind you, even though it's a new year, it's still bad driving on the roads. Don't text and drive, arrive alive, please, because we'd like you to show up here next week for the Focus Group. So have a good one.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.